Hey everyone, Ryan Spath here. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Realty Boise, and I'm also an active real estate investor here in the Treasure Valley. Each week I like to do a quick deal breakdown where I walk through the real numbers, real strategy, and what I'm seeing here locally in this market, purely for educational purposes. Today's deal is really interesting because it's a heavier rehab opportunity. The purchase price of this property is around 350K, and I'm estimating the renovation to be right around 100,000 bucks. Once the renovation is completed, the estimated ARV is anywhere from 475 to 500K. What makes this particular property unique is that it could potentially be a great fit for an FHA 203k rehab loan, which allows an owner occupant to finance both the purchase and the rehab with one mortgage instead of needing a large amount of cash to perform the renovations after purchase or using hard money that a lot of flippers do. So in this video, I'm going to break down the numbers, the upside, and a few things that you're going to want to watch out for in a project like this. So with that being said, let's dive right in, guys. I went and walked this property the other day, and I have a video that I will tag on this if you're interested in seeing what the interior looks like. So, like I said, with this property, we're going to assume that we're going to use a 203k rehab loan. And this is pretty much how this works at a higher level. The purchase price of this guy's $349. I'm estimating $100,000 rehab. So with that being said, if you were to purchase this guy, you're only going to put 3.5% down plus your closing costs. So you're going to be able to acquire this asset and have it renovated and be pretty much brand new, and your total out of pocket is going to be just under $27,000. No, this does not include a couple things. You're still going to want to get an inspection on this property, which on this kind of property here in the valley can range anywhere from $500 to $1,000. You're still going to have to pay for an appraisal, a couple $100. There might be some other loan related products that you're going to have to come out of pocket for. So beyond that, almost $27,000, the purchaser is going to likely be responsible for another $750 to $1,500 in additional expenses. We're going to assume for illustrative purposes that our interest rate is going to be right around 5.5%. When we scroll down on this listing, we are going to be told that a couple things, that the taxes are $4,777, which is what I plugged into our investment cash flow breakdown sheet here. And then the insurance is going to likely be anywhere from $900 to $1,200. This is just based on my own experience with helping clients acquire properties here in the valley. So we're just going to assume a little bit of a higher number, this $1,500 mark. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting, right? And this is one of the potential hangups on a property like this, okay? Because when we purchase this asset, it's highly distressed, and we're going to use this rehab loan to bring it up to current speed. So this is how this would work. When we purchase this, the rehab money is going to go into an escrow account. So we're going to want to get a contractor that's very familiar with this type of project, right? That's one of the things that potentially blows up. If we hire a contractor and they say it's only going to cost X amount of dollars to do all this work, and then they kind of get into the weeds and they realize it's going to be a lot more. So this gap would potentially create the issue. And that's something that if you are considering using this type of loan product, you would want to highly take into consideration the people that you are working with to make sure that this project can get done properly. So on the remodel costs, when we're back here on the listing, we're going to see that it is 2,530 square feet. So we're just going to plug this in here. I'm going to divide it by 2 because this does happen to be a duplex. So there's 3-bed, 2-bath on one side, 3-bed, 2-bath on the other side, right? So 1265 times 2 would be that 2,530 square feet. And then these are just rough estimates, you guys. This could be a little bit higher. This could be a little bit lower. This is just what I personally use when I'm considering renovating my own personal properties, or if I'm helping friends or clients consider renovate their projects. So you can see with the flooring, I just have some rough estimates, and I link the products to Home Depot to kind of higher end flooring that I personally like to use, and that goes on down the list. Some of these items, you could likely get them for more, you could likely get them for less. Again, this is just for illustrative purposes only and just to give us a general idea of what the rehab would cost. So based on my experience with the flooring, the baseboards, the installation, the paint, the labor, just basic appliances, some fixtures, cabinet installation, etc., we're looking at about $26,000 per unit. Remember, I'm saying I believe this is going to be much closer to $100,000. And let me talk you through this. When I was walking through the project, I noticed that a lot of the subfloor is shot, so we're going to have to replace that. I noticed that it's going to need HVAC units on both units, which could be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a side. And it's also going to need brand new water heaters, which are going to be another $1,500 to $2,000. So 2 HVACs, $10,000 a piece. That's 20. 2 water heaters, let's say $1,500 each. We're already to another 25. So we're already to $75,000, and that doesn't include any of the things that a contractor is going to walk through and give you a better scope on. So you kind of get a general idea of what I'm talking about when I'm saying how if you don't estimate the repairs properly, it can really blow this type of project up. The next thing that we're going to want to do, we're going to want to get an idea of what kind of rents we can get for this particular type of property. One of my favorite tools to use for this is Rent-A-Meter. Okay, and for this, you just go to rentameter.com like you just saw me do. I'm literally just going to copy and paste the address into this property. And I'm going to just guess $1,800 for the rent. I'm going to select a 3-bed, and I'm just going to click check rents. So we're going to see that the average and median are right around $1,900 on this guy. I'm not going to dig into too much with this, but if this was something that I were going to pursue or a client were going to pursue, we would likely want to pull these properties, throw them on Zillow, throw them on realtor.com, and have an idea of what the comparables, a lot of these higher properties like this guy, maybe this one for $2,000. We want to get an idea of the kinds of finishes that these properties that are yielding a higher rent are going to achieve. So that way, when we're doing our renovation, we're going to renovate to the neighborhood in hopes of achieving that higher rent. So for this illustration, we're just going to assume a simple $1,795. And remember, this is going to be an owner-occupied loan, so we're going to live in this one side. So when we hop on this pro forma, we see that when we plug these numbers in, right, we're going to have a loan on the purchase price plus the renovation costs, and that is going to be on this $449K. We're going to come out of pocket 3.5%. We're going to assume that we're not going to negotiate any concessions whatsoever, just for illustrative purposes. So this is going to be all in about the $27K. Remember, we're going to have about another $1,500 to $2,000 between appraisals, inspections, etc. So you're all in on this. You're going to be a little bit under $30,000. The taxes we pulled from the listing, just under $5K, and we're just assuming an insurance of $1,500 a month. This is likely going to be a little bit lower, but we're going to want to send this to our favorite local insurance agent to get a more accurate estimate for this number. But for illustrative purposes, this is going to be just fine. So when we consider all these things and we look at our pro forma, we see that, and for this as well, we're going to assume that the water, sewer, trash are paid for by each side individually. And being that we're going to occupy the unit, we're just going to get a little bit more sweat equity, and we're going to mow the lawn ourselves. We're not going to pay for any of this. So for our side, we're going to be able to own this asset, and we're going to be able to live for just under $1,400, which if you're familiar with any of the rentals here in the Treasure Valley, to be able to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage for just $1,400 a month is a pretty big win, guys. This isn't assuming that we're renting out any of the rooms or anything. We're just going to assume that we're going to totally occupy one side, live in a little bit of comfort. If we were going to rent the rooms out for, I don't know, let's say $800 a piece, you would see quickly, let's just plug it in. So let's say we could rent each room for $800. Now with this guy, we're going to get paid to live, and it's probably going to cover all of our utilities. But for this example, we're we're not going to assume that. But the cool thing about this is, and this is the thing that helped me in life and that I'm trying to help people with, a couple things here, guys. I want to normalize that if we're willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, yes, maybe we live in Boise proper, maybe we live in Meridian, maybe we don't want to live in Nampa, but we're going to consider this is going to be a stepping stone to build a strong foundation on, right? Let's say that we want to buy 2, 3, 4, 5 properties over a 10-year span. This is a great property to build that foundation, that building block on, and this is exactly why. So as you saw, we're getting $17.95. So if we're able to get $17.95 for both sides, when we hop back over here to our pro forma, and let's just say we are going to get a little bit of a vacancy, right around 6% in Canyon County right now. Let's say that we're going to pay someone to do the lawn because we don't want to do it. And let's say we're just going to have another $100 of miscellaneous, right? I get it. We're not saving for CapEx. We're not going to dig too far into these weeds. If you have a question about CapEx and how much I personally save for my portfolio, please feel free to reach out and give me a DM. This is for illustrative purposes only, right? So you can see this guy pretty much stands on its own when we move out. It's going to be pretty much break even. And this doesn't take into account any of the rent growth. And also, if you remember looking back at this, there are some properties in the area that are achieving $2,000. We're just being very conservative with this underwriting, assuming that we're going to get $17.95. So this is, as you can see, if someone were willing to move a little bit further away from Boise proper into Nampa, they're willing to do a little bit of work, meaning it's going to take a little bit of time to get this going, guys, right? Like if you're using this kind of loan, you're going to have to wait 2 to 4 months for the contractor to perform the repairs for the property to be livable. So this strategy may not be for everyone. I just wanted to illustrate what is potentially possible if someone's willing to get a little bit uncomfortable and use this kind of 203k rehab loan. You guys, I hope you found this video of use. My goal is to just provide value and show people what is possible here locally in the Treasure Valley. And I just want to normalize that we don't have to save up 20% of the median home price here in the Valley of $500,000. So I was conditioned when I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of you were too, that you have to put 20% down. Right now in the Valley, or in Boise rather, the median home price is close to right around $500,000. So 20% of that would be $100,000. That's pretty tough. That's hard to save up. And I get it, this $30,000 is too, but it's a lot more achievable than the 100. So that's the point of this, is to show everyone that you can in fact break into the market for a fraction of what traditional thinking and the traditional mindset tells us we're supposed to do. You just have to be willing to get a little bit uncomfortable and get a little bit creative. You guys, again, my name is Ryan Spath. I'm an agent here in the Treasure Valley with Keller Williams Realty. I hope you found value from this video, and please feel free to reach out to me if I can help you underwrite any kind of deal, if I can help you buy, sell, invest here locally. I hope you have a great day.